Hello, I'm Donna and I am your fairy godmother, and we're still talking about the flow experiment. This is video 3, and I was sharing the story about how my business partner Timmy and our fabulous community manager and dreamweaver Marissa have been embarking on a flow experiment over the last few months. If you haven't watched the previous videos, you might want to do that to catch up with the story. But where we were is that we'd spent the first 2 weeks of this flow experiment experiencing a lot of our fears come up, and also experiencing like, well, how can I truly give myself permission to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. And really through the first 2 weeks realized how many have tos and shoulds are really in our lives. Like, consider this right now. How many things do you do because you feel you have to do them? How many things do you do because you feel like you should do them? And whose rules are those anyway? It's an interesting question to ask, and one that we started asking ourselves. And after 2 weeks of flow experiment, we decided to do another 2 weeks. And at that stage, I was going off to the UK. I was going to go and do some teaching and also to visit my 101-year-old uncle. And while I was with my uncle, which was really amazing, and it's incredible to be with a man who has spanned a century, and to realize that the important things in life are really about relationship and relating rather than anything else. And while I was with him, I started to go into even more fear. I saw real fears come up about money, about failure, about everything imploding, and all of my work as a fairy godmother suddenly not working out because we were in the middle of this flow experiment. And it felt to me like for 3 or 4 days on this trip, the sky was gray and the rain was coming down and it was freezing cold, and it felt to me like I was losing my mind. In fact, one day I didn't actually even get out of bed. I just sat there reading my book and lying there hoping that these little voices were going to disappear. And in retrospect, I realize now that I actually was losing my mind. You see, one of the most important things for us as human beings is to lose our attachment to our minds. You see, so many of us have our minds as the master. The mind is a really, really valuable tool. It's a really valuable tool for problem solving and thinking. But most of us are so attached to the thoughts and so attached to the beliefs in our mind that the mind becomes the master and we believe everything that it says. And luckily I'm in enough awareness and I've done enough personal development work in my own life to not only be in the fear, but also to be able to be witnessing the fear and seeing the whole thing at the same time. And it was fascinating. And as I was going through this process, I started to bring out my arsenal, my toolkit around fear, and I started to apply meditations and exercises and physical exercises and journaling and all those kind of things. And fascinatingly enough, out of that came my 21-day Out of Fear into Fabulousness program. And so this experience of going through massive fear around the flow experiment flowed into this program appearing almost effortlessly. I started writing about this experience and writing all the exercises that I was using down, and then suddenly this program appeared. So it was almost like effortless that this program happened. And a month later, I launched the program and had 120 people sign up for the program like within a week. And it was just like, wow. And that was a big experience for me of like, this is what flow is. Like, flow is life sends you the experiences that you need to have to shift you into the next experience. And all you need to do is show up. At the beginning of all of my talks, I always say, or many of my talks, I always say that Woody Allen has a wonderful quote that I absolutely love, and he says that 85% of success is simply showing up. And what I've realized in the last few months is that that's all I have to do. All I have to do is show up. The results are not up to me. And how do I show up? I show up in joy. I show up in self-love. I show up where I want to be, when I want to be there. I show up because I'm enthusiastic or accepting of being where I am. When I show up like that, in love and gratitude and enthusiasm and inspiration, pure magic happens. Next week, I'm going to give you some more tips on what you begin to notice when you're in flow. See you next week.